haven't done this in a while since COVID. I'm Tucker Carrington. I'm the Associate Dean of the clinics. And I'm here with most, but not all of my compatriots. David Calder, Child Advocacy Clinic is up in New Albany in trial. And Marie Cope has family issues she had to deal with in Memphis. Cliff Johnson, I'm not going to tell you what Cliff is because you'd be Pete Green of England. But he is en route from England. But anyway, welcome everybody. It's nice to actually do this again. Like I said, we haven't done it since COVID, but it's a nice event. It's the first time that you all get admitted to the practice of law, which I think is an understatement if I say that's a pretty big deal. That's why you came here, taking all these classes to get to this point. So we're proud of you. And we hope that you get a lot out of this coming semester in the clinics. I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes about the clinics. I know I was talking to a couple students earlier today. I know you've been talked at enough. If you've made it this far in law school, you've been talked at about the clinics. But just give me a couple minutes. One is, I'm not going to talk about it today. But I would urge you, when you have a minute, I don't know when that will be, but when you have a minute, to go back and look and read about the history of the University of Mississippi's law school clinics. It's a fascinating story. There is a lot that we can be proud of. There were some tough moments at the university, tough moments at the law school, but I think it's fair to say that ultimately the law school and the clinics in this devotion to providing representation for Mississippians who wouldn't otherwise get it, prevailed. And here we are 3-4 decades later. What I like to say, if I'm on the road or I'm advertising the clinics, is we don't have a ton of, we're not Georgetown, right? It has like 25 clinics or something ridiculous, right? We're not Harvard, that's awash in money. But the clinics that we do have, pound for pound, punch far above our weight. And I would argue, and I think with some objectivity, because I'm on the clinic listserv, right? So I see clinic news from all over the country. We are one of the most, if not in my view, and I'm going to say something about this in a minute, one of the most, if not the most effective clinical programs in the country. And take it with a grain of salt, I'm the associate dean, but I think that's true. The work that the clinics do here, relative to our size of law school, relative to funding and to the size of the student body, is extraordinary. One thing I wanted to say about that is, unfortunately, at Ole Miss, when we try to get into a fight with our peer schools or schools nationally with U.S. News and World Report, we come out too often on the losing end of that battle through no fault of our own. It has to do with where we are, reputation, bias, lack of resources. But I will say one thing, this is not my idea, but I think this is true. The one place that the University of Mississippi has the #1 spot is the gulf between the students and lawyers it graduates and the need for those services in the community and the state. Put differently, the gap is the smallest anywhere in this country. And to my mind, that is a huge opportunity for this law school and for the clinical programs. I mean, not to repeat myself, but again, I think we do a tremendous job of servicing as best we can the client base that we have. Last thing I want to say. And I was sort of, again, thinking about all the things you've heard about the clinics over the years and so forth. But yesterday, I went to Clay County, to the circuit court in Clay County, because we had an evidentiary hearing a couple of years ago, which in an innocence case, which we lost. And parenthetically should not have lost. And another parenthetically, we will win at some point down the road. But I had to go because we're getting the record ready for appeal. And one of the things that lawyers, I don't think do all the time, but God forbid you not do it, and then this happened. You gotta go check the record to make sure all the exhibits and all the transcripts are as they should be before it gets sent up to the appellate court. So I went yesterday and looked at the physical exhibits. There were about 35 of them or so. And they were all there with the clerks, by the way, super nice. FYI, be nice to clerks. They were all there with the exception of one thing, which was a toy gun that we had used as a demonstrative exhibit at the hearing. And I said to the clerk, I said, great, everything looks good, it's in order. The only thing I'm missing is the toy gun. And I started reaching in the box, and she's like, no, you can't touch the gun. And I didn't say anything, but I thought, well, I actually bought that gun at Walmart with the clinic credit card. And I know what it looks like, and I handled it. I took it out of the car when I got it, and I used it at the hearing. But for some reason now, you know, it's not like it was the murder weapon that has DNA on it or something. It's just this toy gun. But for some reason now, I can't touch it. So I said, fine, I don't need to touch it. As long as it's here and it's going up to the court, we're good. But I got back in the car and I was sort of thinking about it. And thinking about what I was going to say today. And thinking, sometimes the practice of law is form over function, form over substance. Like you can't touch the fake gun that you bought at Walmart. Sometimes, more often than not, we hope, it's substance over form. But I got to tell you, sometimes it's neither one. It's chaos in the courtroom through no fault of judges, maybe no fault of you. It's just the practice of law. And one of the beautiful things about the clinic is that you're going to have an experience, I hope, where you see triumph of form over substance some this semester, triumph of substance over form sometimes this semester. And if you're really lucky, you'll see some chaos and you'll learn how to navigate that, because that, in a lot of ways, is the practice of law. I don't know if you're following exactly what I'm saying, but I guarantee you that if we reconvene at the end of the semester, or better yet, if we reconvene a year or two from now, and you certainly will remember these wise words from me, and you would say, oh yeah, now I understand what you mean when you talk about form over substance or substance over form or chaos and how to deal with that. Welcome to the practice of law. It's difficult, it's challenging, it's fun. You may find yourself in either of these two esteemed jurists' courtrooms, in which case you'll be fortunate. Which is not to say that you're going to win your case just because you walk in there at the University of Mississippi Legal Clinics. You may or may not, but you'll have good judges. But you may not, and that's the way it goes. So welcome. I hope you have a terrific semester. Last thing I'll say, second to last thing I'll say is stay in touch. You know, one of the nice things that we've done over the last decade and a half, actually longer than that, is build up a clinic community across the country, particularly in state. That's super helpful, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking for advice on the case, whether you're looking for co-counseling, or so on and so forth. So it's not the last time I'm going to see you, but just a word to the wise going forward, stay in touch. That's it from me. I want to introduce Hans Sinha, who's going to come up and introduce the two judges here today, both of whom I'd like to thank again for coming. They've done this before, pre-COVID. We're glad to have them back. Thank you very much.
Applause for me, or was that for Tucker? Thank you, Tucker. By way of introduction, let me tell you a little story. This is true, a history lesson a little bit, but Tucker spoke about history. The way we educate our lawyers has changed in America. We started by doing apprenticeships. You want to be a lawyer, you went to a practicing lawyer. And you went to Atticus Finch. Say, Atticus, can I just study with you and teach me the law? I say yes. In about 1830s, we started having more formal training in law schools. But even then, you, the students, would read treatises, works by esteemed jurists, usually from England, some from France, You would read those treatises, and that's how you study law. In the 1850s, there was a guy who graduated from Harvard Law School. His name was Christopher Columbus Langdell. So when he was born, his parents took a look at him and said, we're going to name him Christopher Columbus. He's going to be a great man. And he studied law at Harvard, and he graduated. Then he went to New York to practice law, and all he did really was appellate work. So when Harvard Law School called him back in 1870 to be dean of Harvard Law School, he knew what he wanted to teach law students, and that was to read appellate opinions. So that became what's called the case method of studying law. Y'all seen it in your 1L classes. You come in, the professor asks you, tell us about this case, and everything you need is contained within the two bookends of your textbook. And those what's in there are just appellate opinions. And that was his idea, that all you need to learn as a lawyer, especially in law school, were appellate opinions. And he was dean for about 20 years. And it's called the Langdellian system of law school. And that's how we did it for 100 years, from about 1870 to about 1970. You would go to law school, and I don't think any lawyer out of law school would even know where the courthouse door was. You just learned the law, so to speak. In the 1970s, that's changed. And part of what Tucker mentioned, the clinical movement, we had fallen behind the medical profession. They were actually teaching their students the books and how to open up a body and take out a liver, and they knew how to practice medicine. Our student attorneys did not up until really the 1970s. At that time, there were some progressive foundations, the Ford Foundation in particular, that said we need to move away from just teaching young budding lawyers the appellate opinions, but actually how to practice law. And there was a little bit of competition with the medical profession. They're kind of looking at us saying, you guys don't teach your students how to practice law, and just teach them how to read law. So that began the clinical movement. And Tucker mentioned we had a really interesting, I think, first clinic at Ole Miss in the 70s that was shut down because they sued Ole Miss. But there were some conflicts back and forth, but we began to teach students not just what the law is, but how to practice the law. And from that, we have in-house clinics, which we have, how many do you have, Tucker? 6 in-house clinics. And then from that also, kind of a little stepchild, was the externship program, which is what I direct here at Ole Miss. And for our externship clinic, we're really going back to the apprenticeship program, where we send students out to lawyers and juries to learn the practice of law at the place where the law is practiced. And that's, I think, is a great program. And we have, like 60, 70, we all do it each year in our different externships. And you go all over the state and the country and internationally, actually, as well. But that only works if the people to whom we send the students are exceptional lawyers and people. And that's why I want to bring it back to Judge Mask and Judge Sanders. Both of them have taken students from us for I don't know how many years now, but many students. And invariably, those students come back and rave about their placements. Judge Sanders, I think we had some with you since Aberdeen courthouse was shut down, but we had 3 students with Judge Mask. And I think a couple of y'all are here. Yeah. And I can say this, we had 3 students with Judge Mask in the spring semester. I think all my students rave about their placements. Judge, I'm not exaggerating when I can tell you that your 3 students could not stop talking in class about how great you were. So, but our apprenticeships program, our externship program, where we go back to teaching law the way they did before Christopher Columbus Langdell kind of hijacked our legal education, depends upon attorneys and judges taking our students. So Judge Mask and Judge Sanders, on behalf of myself and the law school, I really want to thank you for accepting our students. And I truly mean an exceptional placements. And this is going to be, I don't know how to say this also. Our legal profession is still a little imbalanced in terms of men and women. Our law school class is not. I think we have more women than men for the last couple of law school classes. So we're creating a balance there. But it's always difficult for me when I send female students out to find a role model, so to speak. And there's nothing wrong with men students going out as well, but I like it so much when I was able to send students to women who are succeeded in the profession. So we have role models for female students as well. So Again, thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge, for mentoring our students. In terms of traditional introduction, both Judge Mask and Judge Sanders went to Ole Miss Law School, excelled. I think Judge Mask then served 16 years in private practice, youth court public defender. I looked you up. There's so many distinctions, honors Supreme Court. I'm not going to mention them all, Judge, but really an esteemed jurist and a great mentor. Judge Sanders also went to law school here. I think you're one or two in your class. Where you, but rank is no matter, but I in the class started clerking for, I think, Judge Bramlett, and then took a career with the United States Attorney's Office, where was an effective and humane prosecutor, if I remember correctly, from when I moved here many years ago. So with that, I think we're going to go with Judge Mask first. If you want to say some remarks, and we'll swear the state students in, and then Judge Sanders say some remarks, and we'll swear the federal students in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for introducing me. Thank you for inviting me. There's Corey. Thank you for all that you do with your clinical programs. I'm a big supporter. You know that I am. I love this program, and I thank you for continuing to operate it. I just look out here and I feel refreshed. Oh, it's so exciting to be among people that are excited about the practice of law, that are beginning their future. You're going to have the opportunity to serve so many people, to help so many people. And I want to tell you personally, I am thankful that you have chosen law as your career. We do not have nearly enough attorneys in the state of Mississippi. I don't know nationwide, but we need more here. Are any of you going to remain in Mississippi and practice in Mississippi, or have you decided yet? A good number. Great. Thank you. We need you. Please stay. But I want to say thank you. I am honored to be a part of this phase of your life. I'm honored to administer the state portion of the oath to you today. And I want to share with you just a couple of quick thoughts that I have, some words of encouragement, some advice. First of all, work hard. You know that, because look at where you are. Nothing takes the place of hard work. Work hard. You're doing it now. Carry that on into your law practice when you graduate, and you will be a success. Protect your reputation. I think it's very important that you're starting now. You have a good reputation where you are. You're building relationships with these clinics and the law professors and with each other. Continue to do that. Be prepared. That sounds so elementary, doesn't it? But I have lawyers that appear before me all the time, and I think I just wish you had prepared. So be prepared. Take the time to do that before you go to that judge, before you meet with your client. Be prepared. And the last little bit of advice is build relationships. You're doing that now. These relationships that you are building here in these clinics and at this law school, you will carry with you the rest of your life. As you know, the legal community is a relatively small community. So when you get planted in your law practice, you're going to be seeing the same lawyers over and over again. You're going to be seeing the same judges over and over again. This is my 26th year. I'm sure that my attorneys are tired of dealing with me. But what I'm telling you is you will be associated with the same people. Build a good relationship with them. It's worth your time. It's worth the investment of your time to have a good relationship with the people that are around you. Just a word of encouragement. Do not be afraid of making mistakes. We all make mistakes. Don't run from it. Own up to it. Fix it and move on. Mistakes make us the valuable people that we are today. Christopher Columbus, different Christopher Columbus, made a navigational error and discovered America. Alexander Fleming made a mistake and invented penicillin. Practice does not make us perfect. Learning from our mistakes make us perfect. So don't be afraid of mistakes. Embrace them. Learn from them. Grow. I wish you tremendous success in law school, in the clinics, and in the practice of law. I hope it's as good a life for you as it's been to me. I loved my 16, 17 years of practice, 26 years on the bench. I wouldn't change a thing, and I'm delighted to be with you here today. And when you're ready, I will administer the oath.
I am going to call out the names, and as I call out the name, go ahead and stand up. We are going to do the state portion of swearing in for the fall and spring students. Okay, here we go. Carson Adams. Thomas Anderson. Carson Sidney Bailey. Julia Banks. Leslie Ann Bell. Cameron Burns. Lydia Kate. Zylan Coleman. Madeline Crane. Bethany Daniels. Savannah Diaz. Lily Ann Edge. Ashley Ebert. Harrison Feinstein. Lofton Gray. Hayward Gordon. Kelsey Hollingsworth. Blake Huckman. Blake Humphries. Amanda Hughes. Emily Kaplan. Allie Kettler. Baker Lachance. Casey McGrath. Holly Merriam. Zachary Myers. Barbara Minicata. Braden Moody. AJ Norwood. Joshua Overton. Jay Palin. Emily Phillips. Sarah Slaughter. John Scoggins. Megan Serrano. Madison Sproul. Susanna Stewart. Maggie Summerall. Ramsey Thrasher. Nia Young. And Robin Young. Okay. Jonathan Amwell. Sammy Carlin. Alexis Cobb. Maggie Crane. Caleb Chambers. Marion Christian. Mary Grace Courts. Madison Donnelly. Matthew Hennington. Maddie Hooker. Selena Houston. Christopher Johnson. Robert Duncan Jones. Carrie Jordan. Charles Matava. Kaylin Melvin. Dane Norval. Kayla Poe. Mackenzie Taylor. Zachary Thomas. Natoya Weathersby. Natalie Dan. And Bryson Reed.
This is our group.
Is it that good?
Let me ask you to please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do upon my oath. Do solemnly swear or affirm. That when granted that authority. I will demean myself. In accord with the conditions and limitations. Of the Mississippi Law Student Limited Practice Rule. According to the best. Of my learning and ability. And with all good fidelity. As well to the court. As to the client. That I will use no falsehood. Nor delay any person's cause. For lucre or malice. And that I will support. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Mississippi. Congratulations.
Thank you, Liz.
Sure. Okay, before I swear in, if there are any left, to the federal courts, I heard Mr. Carrington talking about earlier. I was making some notes when he was talking. He talked about this is your first time to be sworn in to practice law. And that's really something important. It's your first time to practice law, and I can tell y'all that it'll be the first time you get in front of a courtroom, it'll be the first time that you really, that'll sort of matter, right? Other than just academics that matter, but this is gonna matter to a client somewhere, I think. And what I want you to know is how much fun I think you're having, how much fun you're gonna have in this profession. When I started practicing law, my uncle, I've got one uncle, who's an electrician, and he sort of drifted around in his careers before he ever became an electrician over the years. My dad and his brother, this is my dad's third brother, my dad and his older brother went into practice medicine together, and then they had this third brother who just sort of drifted around and did lots of different things. But he eventually became an electrician, and he told me once, he said, I knew I had found what I wanted to do when on Sunday night, I didn't dread Monday morning. And I've thought about that ever since then. And every Sunday night practicing law, I can tell y'all, I look forward to Monday morning. You're gonna hear people get disgruntled when they're practicing law. I think there's disgruntled rock stars and astronauts and football players and everything else out there. So you're gonna feel that at times, but I'm telling you, once you find your niche out there practicing law, I just have loved every second, all right? And then one other quick little point, hopefully this will make you love it a little bit more and worry about it a little bit less, because it's another thing Professor Carrington was talking about when he was talking about this chaos. And I've got, I teach as an adjunct here, and I'm gonna be teaching my class tomorrow night, so if you're in there tomorrow night, I'm sure I'm gonna tell this to all of you, have to listen to it again. But what I tell my students when they get out there is, for the first few years, it seemed with me is this way, and I'm hoping to alleviate this concern for all of you. I would wake up, I would go to work, and I'd have no idea what to do, right? Every file they gave me, I'd open it up, and I wouldn't know what to do. I could go to the partners with whom I was working, or when I became an AUSA, I could go for the guys in the criminal division and ask them what to do, but I never knew. I kept waiting for them to hand me a file, and they'd say, look, just read through the facts. I could look through them, and it was a lady, and she was trying to get on a subway, and she dropped some firecrackers, and there was all these facts. I think, wait a minute, is this real? I know what happened. I know what to do here. Never happens, right? But what you're gonna learn, I think, what happened to me finally when I was practicing law was, you're gonna learn not to let that bother you, all right? I think this is sort of what Professor Carrington was talking about, this chaos. No one wakes up in the morning and thinks, finally, I know everything there is to know about practicing. Nothing's gonna happen today that I don't know exactly what to do. I promise you, the Judge Mask and I tomorrow will get something in our courtroom and I'll think, that's never happened before. I don't really know what to do right now. But I've learned to fake it, right? I don't mean fake it, but I've learned to hang it, right? And that's what you're going to be able to do. So when you get out there, as students in particular, and you come in front of a court for the first few times, and you're nervous, and you're worried, and you're looking at what you're supposed to do, and you don't know what to do, know that every lawyer out there, no matter how experienced, feels the same way every day. So don't worry about it, all right? Okay, good. Hopefully that'll make y'all feel a little better. I'm going to read the oath when she calls everyone's name at the stand, if there's two left.
Before we read the federal oath, I
Yeah.
do need to include one other person that we left out for state oath. It's Zoe Williams. Is she here? Yes, didn't want to leave you out. So you are also being sworn in for state and federal, but want to make sure that we include you and leave you out. So thank you very much. Okay, for the federal students, this is also fall and spring. We have Thomas Anderson, Cameron Byrne, Lydia Kate, Haywood Gordon, Kelsey Hollingsworth, Blake Huffman, Emily Kaplan, Baker Lachant, Casey McGrath, AJ Norwood, Jay Palin, Emily Phillips, Megan Serrano, Randy Thrasher, Zoe Williams, Jonathan Emlin, Alexis Cobb, Matthew Crane, Matthew Hennington, and again, Casey McGrath.
That's all? Okay. All right, I've got a couple of forms here of the oath, and I figured it out when I was looking at it. One of them has the oath, and there's an alternate version. And I see now why the alternate version is there. I think y'all will prefer the alternate version. That's the one I'm gonna go with, all right? And what the alternate version provides, if you can see it, I read the whole thing, and then you say, I do, so help me God. Is that good? You better, is that okay? All right. So if you agree with the oath, so I'm going to read the oath, and then I'm going to look to you. I'll say, if you agree with this, say I do, so help me God, and then we'll be through that. Okay. So, do you solemnly swear that you have read and are familiar with the Code of Professional Responsibility of the Mississippi Bar and with federal procedural and evidentiary rules, as well as uniform local civil rules of the Northern and Southern Districts of Mississippi? And do you understand that you're bound by the precepts therein contained as fully as if you were admitted to the practice of law in the Northern District of Mississippi? Do you further accept the privileges granted to you, as well as the responsibilities that will devolve upon you, so that you may be more useful through your clinical education in the service of justice? If so, please state, I do, so help me God.
I do.
All right, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you. I hope you'll be in my program.
Okay, thank you so much again to Judge Math and Judge Sanders. Thank you all so much for showing up today. I'm excited for you to see what's gonna come for you in the next couple semesters. We're gonna get into a lot of nitty-gritty and a lot of personal outcomes. So I think you're gonna learn a lot from that, and I hope that the experiences that you all have here in the clinic will go with you wherever you go, whether you stay here in Mississippi or whether you go across the country or even abroad. These are all going to be important indicators of future decisions that you may be making elsewhere. So I hope that you'll remember your experiences here when you're thinking about doing pro bono work somewhere else or maybe doing public interest, that you incorporate everything that you've learned here in Mississippi and apply it elsewhere, and hopefully even maybe come back and reach back here also. So now the fun part of the ceremony is that we get to go downstairs and have some refreshment. So it's a great opportunity for you all to network with other people in other clinics and also with our guest judges here today and our faculty and staff also. So you're free to go, and we will be set downstairs.
Is she really? Yeah. Big. Yeah.